Good morning, everyone. Oh no, y'all not awake. Good morning. Thank you. So, good morning, y'all. I'm very happy to be here. My name's Allie. I come from a large family in South Carolina. My grandparents had 7 children to raise, and I became baby number 8. They were retired by the time I came around, but raising me was a challenge they took on with pride and joy. My grandparents taught me that if you don't work, you don't eat. So I got my first job at 17, and ever since then, the idea of not working has been an agitator to my soul. I always knew I wanted to help people, but I also learned that having a good heart and good intentions will only get you so far. As soon as I graduated from college, I headed straight for New York City, and I had visited one summer when I was 11 and fell in love with the food, the culture, and the fast pace. I found an unpaid internship in a sober living house and eventually started working in a doctor's office to pay the bills. In 2018, I became a certified peer recovery advocate at Bellevue Hospital Center, and I've been there ever since. I had always wanted to have children, but when I got pregnant, it was terrible timing. I wasn't with someone who was ready to raise a child, and I really wasn't in a position to afford to do so on my own. It felt impossible, but seeing my baby on that ultrasound, that was it for me. I Googled whatever support I could find that was free or affordable. That's how I found Nurse Family Partnership, another program Robin Hood helped scale for low-income first-time mothers in New York City. NFP sets you up with a visiting nurse during your pregnancy that follows you until your child's 2nd birthday. And let me tell you, I needed that support. I was working full-time, going to grad school, living in a room for rent that didn't allow children. I was so stressed there were days I couldn't get out of bed, and yet at the same time, I could barely sleep. I think I cooked 4 times during my entire pregnancy. And let me tell you, that's just not me. I had no love for myself. I felt I had earned my suffering, that I deserved it. I had experienced anxiety and depression before, but nothing like this. Fast forward to September 6, 2022, that's when my daughter, Aurora, or as I call her, Rory, was born. But then, it was like my brain went septic. I hate sometimes to even think about it. All the things people kept telling me I would feel, I didn't feel them. I kept looking at her thinking, I don't feel connected. I feel like this baby is a stranger. I had gone to stay with family, and I was terrified to tell them what was really going on. I was terrified to tell anyone how dark it was for me. If they knew how bad things were in my head, I knew that they would take my baby away. I knew my baby didn't know any better, and my family was doing everything they could to help me. I was the one who had to adjust. I was in therapy, but there was a hole, and I was falling deeper into it. I was about halfway through my maternity leave when my nurse Priya said, I can see that you're struggling. There's a place you can call. Maybe connecting with other new moms will help you. The intake counselor explained that Bonded by Baby is a 12-week program that typically starts immediately after the child is born. The program is centered on building community, so they put a huge emphasis on the age of the baby and which parents they bring together. Rory was already 3 months. Before the counselor could finish talking, I literally begged her to let us into this program. I was desperate. She assured me that yes, we were a little bit of an outlier, but this program was flexible by design. I'll never forget the sound of our group leader, Maria's voice. She made me feel welcomed, and I cried straight through the first 2 meetings. I didn't have time to be shy. My family had no idea I was on a true countdown clock, wondering if me and my baby were about to be a headline on the evening news. There was a little voice in my head saying, is today the day I'm gonna take both of us out? very hard to say in front of 400 strangers, and I still have a lot of shame and guilt about it. I want you to know, and I don't say this lightly, this social creature saved me and my baby's life. I was certain no one felt the way that I did, but Bonded by Baby and the other mothers who were brave enough to share their stories made it so easy, made it so clear that I wasn't alone. They made it easy to share and hard to shut down. Week by week, month by month, that connection grew. And with their support, I began to climb out of my hole and started having those feelings of unconditional love everyone kept talking about. Rory had always been a happy baby. Mama just hadn't been happy enough to notice it. Bonded by Baby changed all of that. Soon enough, I was ready to go back to work. But in New York, you need 6 weeks of current pay stubs to secure a childcare voucher. How could I return to work without anyone to care for Rory? I was bouncing from my cousin's house to my dad's house in New Jersey, looking for a second job, applying for affordable housing, and participating in research studies for extra money. I was spending $1,650 a month on childcare, and on my pay, that's a lot. You just don't know how broke you can be until you have a child. Am I right? Finally, just in time for Rory's first birthday, a spot opened up at Bellevue Daycare. The very same week, we got our own apartment in the Bronx, down the street from my cousin. For now, I'm focused on day-to-day life with Rory. She hums while she eats. She's obsessed with French fries, bubble baths, and drawing with crayons all over the furniture. Like all 2-year-olds, Rory is not walking, she is running. If I knew I needed to train for the Olympics, I would have done so years ago, as you can see. Eventually, I want to finish grad school and provide geriatric therapy. That's my way of giving back to people like my grandparents. My great-grandmother, Granny, was still alive for the first 6 months of Rory's life. So for a little while, we had 5 generations together. Granny was also a very young single mom. She was 17 when she had my grandma, and that was more than 80 years ago, when being a single parent was not exactly welcomed. One day we were sitting down and she said, "Kids happen. Don't worry. You'll make it, Allie. I can't tell you how, but you will." Standing here today, I can tell you that social creatures, Priya, my nurse from NFP, my therapist Joanne, my family and my friends, and those of you willing to invest in the lives of mothers like me, that's how we made it. And because Social Creatures has funding from partners like Robin Hood, I'm proud to share that Bonded by Baby has expanded from 12 weeks to a full year of support. When I think about all Rory and I have been through, I wish I could go back and give myself the compassion I deserved. Thanks to you, Social Creatures was there to do it for me, and it made all the difference. I used to count the days, but now I'm just trying to live as long as possible to spend time with my daughter and my family, and to give her the life and the mother she deserves. I want